General Sirius watched in stunned disbelief as the human's bullets shattered the skull of his top lieutenant. Humans were supposed to be extinct. This was impossible. Centuries ago, the Tok Empire had waged a brutal war of extermination against humanity. The conflict had been long, bloody, and catastrophic for both sides. But in the end, the technologically superior Tok forces had prevailed, bombarding Earth into a lifeless husk and hunting down the remnants of mankind scattered across the stars. The Galactic Federation's history books recorded humanity's ultimate defeat and extinction. The galaxy moved on, considering humans nothing more than a cautionary tale from the past. But now, a human soldier wreaked havoc on Sirius's secret military outpost, leaving a trail of destruction and Tok corpses in his wake. The general's thoughts raced as he barked orders to his troops, demanding they bring him this impossible human, dead or alive. Hours earlier, Captain Jake Morales had awoken from cryogenic stasis aboard the derelict battleship, the USS Persis, adrift in uncharted space. Confused and disoriented, he'd quickly discovered the horrifying truth. He was likely the last human alive. Ship logs chronicled mankind's last desperate attempt to preserve some small remnant of their species. A few thousand survivors placed in cryopods and launched into the void to escape the Tok's final genocidal campaign. Determined to find other humans, Morales had set course for the nearest habitable world in a barely functional escape pod. The crash landing had been rough, but he'd survived, only to find himself stranded on a Tok base. Armed with only a pistol and his wits, the captain relied on stealth, sabotage, and guerrilla tactics to evade the increasingly irate aliens hunting him. As reports of the humans' exploits reached him, General Sirius felt an unfamiliar sensation creeping up his spine: fear. This lone human was accomplishing the impossible, fighting with a ferocity and cunning that defied everything the Tok knew about the species' capabilities. The Federation had been wrong. Humanity was not extinct. And if there was one survivor, there could be more. The Tok had to know. Sirius fired off an urgent encrypted message to High Command. Human soldier discovered on outpost. Repeat, human survivor located and engaged. Recommend highest alert status. Will capture and interrogate. Send all reinforcements to my position. But even as he sent the message, Morales was hacking the comm network. He intercepted a partial translation, blood running cold as he realized the stakes. If the Tok Empire learned humans still lived, if they found the location of the other cryopods, they would finish the job they'd started centuries ago. Mankind would be erased from the universe forever, unless Morales could stop it. As Tok ships began descending on the planet, Morales knew he had to make a choice: steal a ship and escape to continue his desperate search for survivors, or stay and fight to stop the Tok from spreading the word about humanity's survival. The fate of mankind hung in the balance. The last human prepared to make his stand. Heeding Sirius's dire warning, Morales fires the thrusters on his battered escape pod and sets course for the secret Tok research facility. The coordinates flash on his hollow display as he punches them in with shaking fingers. He has to find out if there are any other humans left. Any scrap of information could mean the difference between mankind's survival or eternal extinction. The pod shudders and groans, barely holding together as it streaks through the void. Morales grips the controls, his fist clenched, teeth gritted as he wills the small craft to hold together for just a little longer. The moon grows larger in the view screen, a desolate gray orb hanging in space. He aims for the largest structure on the surface, a squat, ugly edifice of black metal and reinforced concrete. With a bone-jarring thud, the pod crashes onto the moon's rocky surface, skidding and spinning before slamming into the side of the facility wall. Morales throws the hatch open, pistol in hand as he leaps out into the cold, airless landscape. The structure looms over him, dark and forbidding. The Tok logos on the wall have faded with time, but still strike fear into Morales' gut. He shoves it down, checks his oxygen levels, and moves towards the nearest airlock. Inside, the facility is pitch black, only the narrow beams of Morales' helmet lamps to light the way. Shadows dance on the walls as he moves cautiously down the corridors, boots echoing on the metal floor. The air smells stale, recycled. Morales' skin crawls with each step, dread knotting in his stomach. He finds the holding cells first, their inlaid force fields long dead, the doors yawning open like hideous mouths. The rooms are empty except for the remains of metal cots bolted to the floor, leather restraints still attached. Morales swallows hard. He doesn't want to think about the suffering that took place here. The laboratories are worse. Exam tables with straps dangle from rusted stirrups, trays of wicked-looking surgical tools, scalpels and bone saws and things Morales can't identify, lie scattered about. And on the far wall, a row of transparent tanks filled with dark liquid. Morales steps closer, hands shaking as he shines his light inside, and recoils in horror. Floating within each tank is a twisted abomination, a nightmarish fusion of Tok-Tok and human. Limbs melded together, faces contorted in agony, half-formed bodies suspended in the murky fluid. Bile rising in his throat, Morales stumbles back and flees the room. Rage and grief war within him, fueling his persistence to expose these atrocities to the galaxy. He has to find that database. He has to know if any humans are still out there. The command center still has auxiliary power. Morales pulls the access panels apart, rewires the system with trembling fingers. The central computer flickers to life, holographic screens materializing in the air. He scans through the data furiously, translating the Tok-Tok script with his suit's rudimentary language pack. What he finds turns his blood to ice. Records of horrific experiments, the Tok-Tok's attempts to create a hybrid soldier species by combining human traits with their own biology. Trial after trial, each one a failure that ended with the subject's agonizing deaths. But in the most recent entries, a breakthrough. A few human captives that proved more resilient, able to endure the gene splicing, to survive the transformation process. The entries end abruptly, with a note about the remaining test subjects being transferred off-world for further experimentation. Desperately, Morales digs deeper into the Tok-Tok files. He uncovers communications about a massive orbital shipyard in a nearby star system. The Tok-Tok are constructing a new dreadnought, a warship more powerful than any before. A fleet to enable their conquest of a dozen more worlds, and to hunt down the last remnants of humanity. Morales slams his fists on the console. He can't let this happen. The galaxy must be warned, must rise up against the Tok-Tok before it's too late. Working feverishly, he scavenges components from the command center to rig a makeshift long-range transmitter. He's no engineer, but he has to try. Plugging in the power cell and praying it holds a charge, he broadcasts a message on every frequency he can reach. An urgent plea for any friendly forces to hear him. He reads out the shipyard coordinates, the details of the dreadnought construction, and the Tok-Tok's genocidal plans, and a promise that Avenger Morales will fight to his last breath to stop them and save what's left of humanity, if any will stand with him. He's barely finished the transmission when proximity alerts blare through the facility. The Tok-Tok are coming. Admiral Krasik has detected the signal from the shipyard and knows a human is responsible. Even now, Tok-Tok strike craft streak towards the moon, guns primed to eliminate this threat. Morales barricades himself in the command center, checks the charge on his pistol. He'll make the Tok-Tok pay in blood for every step. The first fighters scream overhead, strafing the building with plasma bolts. The whole structure quakes. Morales braces himself as the airlock seals burst open and the thunder of heavy combat boots fills the halls. A savage grin splits his face. He'll show these alien bastards how a human fights. On the fringes of the system, a ramshackle collection of ships pick up a fading distress signal. Verks, a grizzled Korthi mercenary, leans forward in his captain's chair, scarred brow furrowed as he listens to a voice he never thought he'd hear. A human voice. His crew exchange shocked looks as the human's words spill from the speakers, laying out the Tok-Tok's crimes and pleading for aid. "Well, boys," Verks growls, a fierce light in his eyes, Looks like we just got a chance to give those Tok scum a real bloody nose. Never thought I'd have a human to thank for it. A cheer goes up from the assembled aliens, a motley mix of mercenaries, pirates, and renegades from a dozen worlds, all united in their hatred of Tok tyranny. Plot a course for those coordinates, Verkax orders, checking the charge on his plasma rifle. Looks like we're going to war. At the shipyard, Admiral Krazik watches with narrowed eyes as the final phase of construction begins on his mighty flagship. The dreadnought bristles with weapons, an unstoppable harbinger of Tok supremacy. Once completed, nothing will stand in the way of their conquest. Their alarms shrill through the bridge. Krazik spins to face the sensor officer. Report! Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, Admiral. Small craft, attack formation. They're firing. The shipyard shudders as the first volley of torpedoes and cannon fire slams into the outer hull. Fighters and bombers swoop past the viewports, hammering at the dreadnought's exposed superstructure. Krazik roars with rage. The attackers dart and weave, pummeling the shipyard with coordinated strikes before breaking off and jumping back to the safety of hyperspace, only to reappear from new angles and begin the onslaught again. The Tok defenses, caught off guard, scramble to mount a counterattack, but the enemy's unconventional hit-and-run tactics keep them off balance, unable to pin them down. On the bleak research moon, Morales crouches behind a barricade of damaged equipment, pistol in one hand, a salvaged Tok plasma rifle in the other. Scores of dead Tok soldiers lay before his position, the walls pitted and scorched from battle. Blood runs down his face from a jagged cut across his forehead. His armor is rent and burned in a dozen places, but he's still breathing, still fighting. The ground quakes as more Tok troops storm the facility, driven by Krazik's rage to stamp out this troublesome human. Morales grips his weapons, preparing to make a final, desperate stand. Then the quaking intensifies, and through the gaping holes in the facility's roof, he glimpses dagger-like silhouettes soaring past, hammering the Tok forces with blasts of searing energy. He can only stare in amazement as the alien ships tear into his enemies. Despite the challenges, someone heard his call. Someone came. Savage joy rises in his throat even as the battle rages around him, a flicker of hope kindling in his chest for the first time. Maybe, just maybe, humanity and the free races of the galaxy would have a fighting chance after all. Morales crouched behind the crumbling barricade, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The station shuddered around him as Verx's fleet hammered the Tok defenses. He knew this chaos might be his only shot at finding other human survivors. Fingers flying over a battered console, Morales pulled up the station schematics. His eyes widened as he spotted a hidden lower level. Holding cells, he muttered. Gotta be where they're keeping anyone they captured. He snatched up his weapons and sprinted for the access hatch. Tok troops still roamed the corridors, but their numbers had thinned. Morales took them down with precise shots, conserving ammo. The ladder down to the detention block seemed endless. Morales' arms burned as he climbed, the sounds of battle growing muffled. He dropped to the floor of a dimly lit hallway lined with heavy doors. "Hello," he called out tentatively. "Anyone there?" A weak voice answered. "Here, we're in here." Morales' heart raced as he overrode the first cell's lock. The door slid open, revealing a horrific sight. Emaciated humans huddled on the floor, their bodies marked with scars and cybernetic implants. A woman with matted blonde hair looked up at him. You're human, how?" "Name's Morales. I'm here to get you out. Can you walk?" She nodded weakly. "Jessica, I was a xenobiologist before they took us." As Morales helped prisoners to their feet, alarms blared. He tapped his comm. "Verkix, I found survivors, but we need evac now. This place is falling apart." The Korthi mercenary's gravelly voice crackled back. "Negative. We're up to our eyeballs in Tok ships. Best I can do is draw their fire to open a window for a small craft." Morales swore, mind racing. "Understood. I'll find us a ride." He turned to Jessica. "Listen, we don't have much time. I need the healthiest people you've got. and any data on what the Tok were doing here. Jessica's eyes widened. We can't leave the others. We have to, Morales said grimly. It's this or nobody makes it. I promise we'll come back for them. Reluctantly, Jessica nodded and began organizing the other prisoners. Morales downloaded what files he could from a nearby terminal. Minutes later, they stumbled into a decrepit hangar bay. An ancient shuttle sat gathering dust, its hull pitted and scarred. This rust bucket's our ticket out, Morales declared, herding the small group aboard. Strap in, it's going to be bumpy. He fired up the engines, wincing at their uneven whine. The hangar doors ground open, revealing utter chaos beyond. Verkax's ships darted between massive Tok cruisers, energy weapons lighting up the void. Morales gritted his teeth and gunned the throttle. The shuttle lurched forward, barely clearing the bay as explosions rocked the station behind them. Alarms screamed as the shuttle bucked and rolled, debris pinging off the hull. Come on, you piece of junk, Morales snarled, wrestling with the controls. A Tok fighter streaked past, guns blazing. Morales yanked the shuttle into a stomach-churning dive. Through the maelstrom, he glimpsed Verkax's flagship trading savage blows with an enormous Tok dreadnought. Energy built along the dreadnought's spinal cannon, ready to obliterate its foe. But Verkax had other plans. His ship plowed directly into the dreadnought's firing chamber. The resulting detonation tore both vessels apart in a blinding flash. The shockwaves slammed into the shuttle, sending it tumbling end over end. Morales fought for control, thrusters firing erratically. When the sensors finally cleared, they were drifting in open space far from the shipyard. As the adrenaline faded, Morales sagged in his chair. He looked back at the haggard faces of the rescued humans. We made it, he breathed. We actually made it. But a chill ran down his spine as proximity alarms began to wail. On the radar, a swarm of Tok signatures was closing fast. Krasik wasn't about to let them escape that easily. The shuttle lurched violently as Morales punched the warp drive. Alarms blared, the hull groaning under the strain. Jessica clung to her seat, fingers tightening. The other survivors huddled together, eyes wide with terror. Hold on, Morales shouted over the cacophony. This is going to be rough. Space twisted around them, stars blurring into streaks of light. Then, with a sickening lurch, they dropped out of warp space. The viewport filled with utter blackness. Morales frantically scanned the readouts. Shit, navigation's fried. I don't know where we are. Jessica leaned forward, peering into the void. There's nothing out there, no stars, no planets, just darkness. The shuttle's systems began to fail one by one. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing the cabin in an eerie red glow. The temperature plummeted rapidly. Morales worked furiously at the controls, trying to reroute power. Sparks flew from an overhead panel. Damn it, he snarled, yanking his hand back. Life support's going critical. We've got maybe an hour of air left. The survivors huddled closer, their breath visible in the frigid air. Jessica pulled out the datapad containing the stolen Tok files. If we're going to die here, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, let's at least try to learn something. They pored over the information, decoding encrypted files. As the minutes ticked by, Jessica's eyes widened. Morales, look at this. Coordinates for some kind of outpost. He squinted at the screen. In the middle of nowhere? Wait, these energy readings. It's built into some kind of massive structure. A flicker of hope ignited in Jessica's eyes. If we can reach it. Morales nodded grimly. He disengaged life support, redirecting every scrap of power to the engines and navigation. The shuttle's computer struggled to plot a course. Everybody strap in, Morales ordered. This is our only shot. The engine sputtered to life. Through the viewports, a massive shape began to persistence out of the darkness, a sprawling construct of impossible scale and alien design. As they approached, chunks of debris battered the shuttle. Morales fought the controls, aiming for a jagged opening in the megastructure's outer shell. Brace for impact! The shuttle plunged through the breach. For a heart-stopping moment, they were in freefall. Then they slammed into something solid. Metal screeched. Sparks showered the cabin. Everything went black. Morales came to slowly, head pounding. He blinked, trying to focus in the dim light filtering through the cracked viewport. Around him, the other survivors stirred, groaning. "Everyone alive?" he croaked. A chorus of pained affirmatives answered him. Jessica was already on her feet, staring out at their surroundings in awe. "Morales," she breathed, "you need to see this." He stumbled to the viewport. Beyond lay cavernous chambers of alien design. Massive, incomprehensible machines loomed in the shadows. The architecture defied human understanding, built on a scale that boggled the mind. "What is this place?" someone whispered. Jessica was already working, cobbling together components from the shuttle's wreckage. "I think I can rig up a transmitter," she said. "Use the structure's own systems to boost the signal. If I can just—" A distant rumble shook the chamber. Morales' blood ran cold as he recognized the sound of capital ships dropping out of warp. "Krazik!" he spat. "The bastard found us!" He turned to the survivors, his face set with grim purpose. "All right, people, we're not done yet. Jessica, get that transmitter working. The rest of you help me salvage what we can from the shuttle. We'll make our last stand here." As they worked, the alien structure began to hum with awakening power. Ancient machines stirred to life around them, responding to some unseen stimulus. Morales watched in awe as weaponry beyond human comprehension powered up, aimed at the approaching Tok-Tok fleet. A final message flashed across the shuttle's battered comm system. Krazik's voice, filled with dawning horror as he realized the trap he'd sprung. Then the void erupted with unimaginable energies. The Tok-Tok ships vanished in the cosmic conflagration.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.